Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, we do have another new little mini ASIC. This is coming from GoldShell. This is now the third version of this thing. So this is the mini Doge 3 Plus, right? This is the third version of the mini Doge 3, right? Not just mini Doge 1, 2, and 3. This is the third version of the 3, right? Which is kind of weird. We'll talk about the differences here. So we do have the full specs. We do have the design of it, which is the key change here. So we'll look at profitability. We'll compare it to the previous models and kind of just talk about it, see if this thing makes sense, and see how it stacks up against the competition, right? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get to this thing. So they did give us a new model here. Okay, so we'll go over the specs real quick. 810 mega hash, 500 watts, so nice little increase in the hash rate there. Low power mode, 620 mega hash, 300 watts. Kind of weird though, because again, like I mentioned, this is the third version now of the mini Doge 3. Let's look at the original version. So it was 650 mega hash, 400 watts at the wall for a 0.62 joules a mega hash. So you can kind of see identical there. So pretty much seems like it was just bumped up a little bit higher in comparison to that one. When we look at the low power mode from the previous version, it's 500 mega hash, 260 watts at the wall for a 0.52 joules a mega hash. Slightly better here on this one. What's interesting though is that this is slightly worse than the second version of this, right? So they never changed the name. They just kind of like did almost like a stealth release. So when they just restocked, they changed the specs and never really like talked about it, right? Which was kind of a weird. You would think they would have called it the Plus or something to kind of differentiate it, but we can see the specs here on the GoldShell website. 700 mega hash at 400 watts, so bring you to 0.57 joules a mega hash, right, which is better than this. And then low power mode, 550 mega hash, 260 watts, so same thing, 0.47, so slightly better. So it's close enough where it's about the same, but it's just interesting that they would be worse specs, right? So that was one key difference, right? In reality, not that big of a deal. Just you're clocking it higher essentially, right? Which is a benefit, right? The biggest change here though is the design and the fact that the PSU is now integrated into the miner. So you don't have to have a separate PSU, separate cables. It's all integrated. You're just gonna need that C13, C14 plug, which a lot of us are very familiar with, you know, just regular ATX power supplies and such. Very easy cable to attain. So there are pros and cons here to that though. Like me personally, not a fan, right? I would actually prefer to have the 6 pins just because again, those power supplies are cheap. They are easy to replace. They are easy to source, and we can have multiple units on one power supply versus here now, if you want to have multiples of these, you're kind of paying extra because you have each individual power supply, right? So pros and cons there. I know some have had issues with the 6 pins in the past. I know it was a big thing with the original mini Doges. A lot of them were getting burnt out and such. And I think a lot of it just had to do because people were using the included or the power supply directly from there. They kind of came with like a little brick style power supply with the 6 pin attached. And a lot of people had that 6 pin burn out, right? So I know a lot of people that had issues there, but with the most recent releases, haven't really seen that be much of an issue. So for me, looking at it, it's kind of a negative, but I could kind of see the use case here because again, this is to get the newbie people in. New people is just one solid unit. They don't have to source a different power supply. They don't have to like rig anything else to make it to work, right? Because a lot of people would try to get like ATX power supplies and kind of have to rig it to make it work, or just different things in general, right? So kind of depends on your market there. So like from my perspective, not very appealing there. Overall case design, you can see it's going to be a little bit chunkier because again, the power supply is going to be integrated in there. But again, overall, for me at least, definitely a net negative, right? Especially because it's going to be a proprietary power supply now. So if that thing does fail, you're going to have to source one from them directly, again, versus just getting one of the other power supplies that's extremely easy to get with these little 6 pins, right? Whether it's an ATX power supply, or a lot of us have other ones. For those of us who are GPU miners, we have server power supplies, breakout boards, etc. So for me, overall, kind of a net negative. The specs overall, also kind of a net negative. But again, I can kind of see who the market is for, right? And again, when we look at profitability, I'm not even going to punch it in its own little specs. We'll just look at the mini Doge 3 because again, efficiency is about the same, so you can just bump it up a little bit, but it's essentially on a 10-cent kilowatt hour, a little bit more than break even, which isn't bad at least, right? The goal is to be break even or better. And then chances are this will get a little bit better if or when the freaking new merge mining thing is going to come into play, meaning the new third coin now, potentially we're going to be able to have a new coin to merge mine with, and that's going to be the Bells coin. Okay, so it should theoretically work on all script ASICs. It shouldn't be limited to just the L9 and such. So chances are it will get at least a little bit better. As far as timing goes, it's kind of interesting that they did it like this, and I think a lot of it has to do with what? With the announcement of this thing, right? This thing got a lot of attention, and they kind of figure they gotta drop this thing now before this thing releases, because again, depending on the price of this thing, it beats this little GoldShell by quite a bit, right? In terms of like every aspect. Okay, except for potentially, we don't know yet, potentially the price, right? I have a feeling this guy might be a little bit on the higher end, but when we compare the specs to this guy, that's where it gets a lot more appealing, right? So 2000 mega hash, right, versus the 800 on this guy. So pretty big upgrade there, about 2.5x, and for only 120 more watts than this thing. Okay, so there's a massive difference in the efficiency. Again, you can see the 0.62 joules a mega hash in comparison to 0.31 joules a mega hash, right? So exactly what? Exactly twice as efficient. Okay, so pretty big difference there. The only thing they might be able to beat them in is going to be the price point, right? Again, this is more appealing to the home miners. We have no idea what the price of this guy is going to be, but I'm expecting it to potentially be, I think 2K would be a fair price point. Anything beyond that be a little bit too much. Ideally 1500 would be nice. It just really depends on the variables, but then it's hard to say because this thing's not going to release until Q4, right? Which is as soon as potentially a few months, or could be right at the end of the year. Okay, and we know potentially what might happen between now and then. Doge may pump, and guess what? The prices of these things will all get more expensive. Okay, so it's one of those things. It just depends on what you value, what you're looking at. But this guy, extremely more appealing, right? Not just from the specs from, but the design. Okay, it's a unique design. People saw it like at Mining Disrupt. Like I had taken my son with me to Mining Disrupt. He's a teenager now, to get him a little bit more interested in crypto mining, and the design definitely worked on him. He is loved the Elphapex booth in general, right? He was like in love with this thing. He was all over it, right? All about it. And it's just because, again, it had a unique design. So it's interesting to see it from his perspective, because obviously the marketing, the design of it's going to be appealing to him, which is going to be appealing to normies, right? So it's kind of interesting to be able to see how he views it, and he definitely was entranced by this thing. So it is definitely cool looking, right? And it's definitely a conversational piece. And I know we make fun of it, like, oh, the design isn't going to give you hash rate, but again, they need to do something, man. Like, at least change the color, like do something with it to make it more appealing. Like, for example, even with like the KS zeros, when they did that green one, a lot of people bought it just literally just to be able to throw it on a shelf back there, right? Something different. Something, because it becomes like a standout piece, like a conversational piece, right? You can have like that bright green KS0, or you can have this thing like in your living room, in your office, and it's like a conversation starter, right? People look at it and they want to talk about it and they want to learn about it because it looks interesting. They're like, oh, what the heck is that thing? Versus this basic ass black design between this and the KS0 also. It just looks like a modem of some sort, right? Not very appealing. So not that that's going to give you any more profitability, right? Obviously, but it's just do something with it, right? Because again, at the end of the day, you're buying these things. It's just to attract the normies, attract attention, get people into it, get people into the space, right? So you want to do something to attract them into the space, okay? Especially if you are not on the leading edge of cost per hash or design or efficiency or in reality anything, right? And overall, that's kind of the biggest gripe with this thing, or with GoldShell in general, right? I'm sure you guys have been getting the vibe. They're not innovating anything, right? They're getting left behind pretty drastically from even these newcomers, right? The KS0 has been destroying them every iteration. The K box initially came out, people got ripped off, people who bought on the first batch, and then what happened, the K box Pro came out weeks after, so a lot of those guys were pissed. And then what happened weeks after, the KS0 Ultra came out and kind of destroyed that thing, and they've been dropping the price, right? So they need to like get with the times, they need to do something different. This was a decent start, I guess, for normies, but again, this normies market isn't until we're starting to really get in the bull run, right? A lot of people in the market for these things currently are still us, right? So like you have to do something different, especially if your specs aren't going to be the best, right? So I think a lot of this release has to do with just that Elphapex announcement, right? Which is getting all the attention, and now the KS0 Ultra is getting all the attention from the Caspa crowd. So it's a hard one, right? We're going to have to wait to see the price, but I'm not too bullish on the price either, just because GoldShell, they need to be more aggressive, right? So if they're not going to be changing the designs, start getting more aggressive with the price then. And this is something that they have definitely been struggling with. They're starting to get better, but they need to do it from like their site. They need to like promote these better prices. For example, right now they still have the mini Doge 3 at freaking 750 bucks, right? This one with the little sticker on it. When all the vendors, resellers, retailers, they have it at like half the price, bro. They have this guy at 449, okay, from Nhash. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go lower just because of the announcement of this thing, right? Or just depends on where they price this thing at. Which, again, I'm not too optimistic about where it's going to be priced at, because, again, their initial prices have been horrible. Maybe this changes things. Maybe they come in aggressive and come in at 500 bucks and they lower this thing down more, right? Who knows, okay? But it's just, they definitely need to change something, because they should be the leaders in this mini ASIC space, right? They have a freaking years, generations ahead of everybody, and they're getting blown out by the competition on their first initial releases. Okay, that's not a good sign. They are getting left behind to the point where it's like starting to get sad almost, right? It's just hard to say, guys. So just keep this thing in mind. We'll see if this thing drops lower. Again, from Nhash, they have it at $449 plus shipping. Do have a affiliate link with Nhash now, finally, after like 6 months of talking about them, in the description for any guys who are interested. Realistically, though, I could see this dropping a little bit more, right? So wait for the price on this thing if you're interested in these things at all. Which typically this isn't my market, but my son, after Mining Disrupt, is like all about getting some ASIC, so I do want to get some more just to get him more interested in it, right? Because he's been interested in crypto, he understands kind of the concept, but seeing like these things in action, seeing like the extent of it, right? Because he sees me talking about it, he sees me tinkering with the machines, but he kind of doesn't hear about it, so to him it's not really a big thing. But after Mining Disrupt and kind of seeing the crowd, seeing the attention, seeing the spaces, like it got him super motivated. So definitely we'll have to get like some of these little mini ASICs, probably gonna be KS0s though, to tell you the truth, but I'm gonna wait to see what happens here. Very interested to see release dates and price points for this guy. On the other home front, again, to me, it's the pricing thing, guys. Like GoldShell, y'all need to start consulting with people so you can get like real feedback, because you guys keep fumbling like nonstop, right? You guys are so like out of tune with the market. Highly doubt they watch any of these things, just because they know most of mine tend to be harsh on their front, especially when they do these little Twitter announcements. But again, it's just weird thing after weird thing. Like the watch kind of started it all. Like it was just so out of touch with the market, right? But hopefully they start at least getting with the price points, because then that would make it more appealing. Because even right now, for example, like this thing, it's crazy that they still have it listed at this price, because again, it's been tanking just because of the KS0 Ultra, right? So again, most of the resellers have been dropping this price aggressively. I just did that pricing update video a few days ago, and they had it at like 12 and change. Now it's 1,049, right? Which is more in line, and that was kind of our thing, is that that's the price point it should have been launched at, right? So if they would have just priced aggressively from the get-go, that'll make up for some of the deficiencies, right? Because there is a benefit to having just one unit versus having 4 units, etc., etc. But again, guys, these guys need to get with it. They need to consult with people, consult with the community, consult with their own community. Even if they don't want to consult with other miners, other YouTubers, whatever, just consult with your own damn community, and they'll give you a better idea of what to do. Because it's even to the point where even their own community is like, what the hell you guys are doing? Right? It's just very confusing, especially with this release. Again, I just think it has to do with the Elphapex unit. They were probably waiting on this thing to release it later, but because of the hype that this thing is getting and going to get when it releases, they figure their timing is limited to release something, right? But they need to increase that efficiency, and if they're not going to increase the efficiency, they get more aggressive with the price or make it visually appealing just so people can put it on shelves or have it like as conversational pieces in the living room. Like something, right? Something has to give, something has to change, because right now they are slumping extremely bad. Like, it's not a good look. So I know a lot of these videos with GoldShell for quite a while now. If you guys have been following, I'm not a huge fan of inefficient ASICs that kind of tend to prey on newbies, right? So hopefully they start getting to the point where they are more competitive, because at least like the KS0 Ultras and potentially this Elphapex unit do have potential from even just the profitability standpoint. Okay, so hopefully they learn from it. They kind of get with it. Maybe this one does get priced aggressively. Maybe it does come in at 500 bucks. I would say 600 would be at the high end, but realistically, we'll see, right? We're gonna have to wait to see, and that's gonna kind of give us an idea if they're kind of learning from their mistakes, because again, they've pissed off a lot of people with their designs, pissed off a lot of people with these price cuts, right? And that's not even mentioning the freaking AL box, which is a whole nother thing. And that thing again dropped again. I looked at prices this morning, it's at like 4,500 bucks, right? So it's just constantly dropping. So again, from 15K to 4,500, and just bad bros, right? So hopefully they kind of start learning from all of this, start doing something about it, right? Because again, at the end of the day, it's not to bag on GoldShell, it's for them to get better, for them to improve, not only for them but also for us, because it forces innovation. Okay, so hopefully they kind of start seeing it, because these things are blowing them out of the water. Okay, so hopefully they do get better there. But overall, the unit, it's no different than the mini Doge 3s. If those continue to go down or they go lower, that's definitely the price point. Again, I would rather get a server PSU and a breakout board and power multiples off of just one all day versus a proprietary power supply that is integrated. But again, it's for that newbie market, which again, this is not that time, guys. Like, we're like at least 6 months away. Then they can get away with selling kind of garbage because everything's going to be more profitable, right? But at least right now they need to get with it, and hopefully they learn from it, so that way come next year they are with it and we still have them around, right? Because right now it is not looking too great, right? So let me know in the comments, guys, what do you guys think? If this is something that interests you, what do you think of the PSU design here that's integrated? Do you see it as a pro, as a con? Let me know what you guys think, right? So thank you for watching, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys, and we are out.